Well, welcome everyone to another week of legislative activities of the Nigerian Parliament. Welcome to the Gavel. I'm Terry Ikumi. And what a week it was, even though it began on a sad note, following the demise of a member of the House of Representatives, Ekene Adams, who represented Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency of Kaduna State on the platform of the Labour Party. Now, this is the third death in the House this year alone. There was Honourable Adewale Akinremi and Honourable Isa Dogonyaro. All three died after a brief illness. May their souls continue to rest in peace. Now, when plenary resumed on Wednesday, many things happened at the same time. The Senate Chief Whip was removed. The House raised concerns about a plot to frustrate Dangote Refinery, and then there's the resolution of the House against the planned nationwide protest, and also to donate 50% of their salaries for 6 months to Nigerians. No further details as to who gets this money yet, but some have commended the action of the House and shaken their heads at the Senate. Well, here's a look at plenary in both chambers this past week.
Plenary resumed on Wednesday in both chambers of the National Assembly after suspending sitting on Tuesday in honor of a member of the House who passed away. In the upper chamber, the Senate President read a communication from President Bola Tinubu.
The Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024 seeks to amend the Principal Act to provide the sum of 3,200 billion only for renewed hope infrastructure projects and other critical infrastructure projects to be undertaken across the country, and the sum of 3 trillion only to meet further recurrent expenditure requirements necessary for the proper operation of the federal government, expenditure which are to be funded by expected revenues accruing to the federal government of Nigeria. Furthermore, the proposed amendments to the Finance Act 2023 are required to impose a one-time windfall tax on the foreign exchange gains realized by banks in their 2023 financial statements to fund capital infrastructure development, education, and healthcare access, as well as public welfare initiatives.
A debate then ensued on the Finance Act Amendment Bill, which contains some new provisions for taxation.
I think that we should be very cautious when we are imposing taxation on citizens of our country, because we are managing a depressed economy. Even these banks now, as we speak, are all running around to meet up the recapitalization policy.
I commend the executive and I want to commend the leadership for facilitating that we deal with this matter expeditiously so that the president can get going and companies involved in infrastructural provision can have a renewed hope, and in the end, Nigeria can see that they lost one and they gained two. I am completely in support that this second reading be passed so that we can deal with this matter and conclude it whether this week or no later than next week.
Section 30 of the proposed amendment bill seeks to impose a 50% tax on realized profits from all foreign exchange transactions of banks within the 2023 fiscal year. In the lower chamber, after the Speaker read the communications from the President, the House went into a closed-door session for about 45 minutes. When plenary resumed, both bills were passed through second reading without any debates. At the close of plenary, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee explained the details of the amendments sought by the President.
It's called budget adjustments. So existing 2024 budget we are going to consider and amend so that those important critical projects can be executed by the president. But I think Mr. President, want to consider from based on what he has said, I think from their discussions with the level, so I believe the money is not enough. So that's why they are bringing about 3 trillion to consider, so that our civil servants and everybody can be able to access the money.
In the Red Chamber, a letter from the national headquarters of the All Progressives Congress was read by the President of the Senate against the utterances of Senator Ali Ndume.
His latest tirade, where he referred to the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, as being run by thieves. His utterances, which are sheer propaganda, are not based on verifiable facts. We are of the opinion that distinguished Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno should immediately replace distinguished Senator Ali Ndume.
According to the letter, the APC advised that Senator Ndume resigns his membership from the party and formally joins the opposition rather than decimate the cohesion the party currently enjoys. The senator, who is conspicuously absent, has been making critical remarks about the president, the nation's economic hardship, and food scarcity in the country. He is also stripped as co-chair of the Appropriations Committee in mild reshuffling. The matter is then put to a voice vote.
Those of you who are in support of the decision by the party, can you shout aye? Aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it.
Consequently, the full-time senator is removed as chief whip of the Senate and replaced by his counterpart from Borno North. In 2017, under the 8th Assembly, Senator Ali Ndume equally faced sanctions and was suspended for 6 months over false allegations leveled against former Senate President Bukola Saraki and Senator Dino Melaye, bordering on certificate forgery, amongst others. Meanwhile, it was a very busy day for members of the House of Representatives during the last plenary session of the week. It is one motion of urgent national importance after another.
The BBC Hausa service reported very scary and disturbing and urgent news yesterday about an order given to the Hausa community living in Ababo town of Ika South local government area of Delta State to leave the town within 4 days.
The minority leader moved a motion to investigate alleged plots to frustrate the Dangote Refinery and called for urgent action.
The House is called to resolve to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate these matters of the inability of NNPC Limited to subscribe for the 20% shares in Dangote Refinery and lack of supply of crude to Dangote Refinery, and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action.
The motion was adopted, and the attention of the House turned to a motion of urgent importance on a planned nationwide protest. Lawmakers argue for and against the motion.
Mr. Speaker, we need a very short-term plan, considering the emergency situation we're in. We are not praying, Mr. Speaker, if we allow this protest to take place or escalate, Mr. Speaker, we don't know where it stops.
These people that are calling for protest, I believe they don't know what will be the outcome when they go ahead to call for this protest.
The Deputy Speaker then appealed for calm and proposed an amendment.
You know, our salary is 500,000 naira. That we look at a percentage of that salary.
For point of correction, is 600.
Oh, 600, sorry. But my own doesn't get up to 600 when I receive visa. Maybe some deductions. But based on what you have said, Your Excellency, I'm moving that we amend that prayer to include that members sacrifice maybe 50% of our salary for a period of 3 months or 6 months to help Nigerians and to show that we are in support.
The amendment for 6 months was adopted as the House hopes that its actions could prompt the proponents of the planned protest to have a rethink.
Well, let's do the math now. Half of 600,000 is 300,000. Multiplied by 360 members, that's 100 million naira. Times 6 months, that's 648 million naira. So what do you think? Where should this money go? Do let us know through social media or email. Moving on, here's a look at committee activities of the Senate and House of Representatives in the past week.
Crucial stakeholders such as the Central Bank of Nigeria, some members of the nation's economic management team, as well as the group CEO of NNPC Limited, appeared before the committee to give explanation regarding the state of the nation's economy.
We believe your participation will greatly enhance the outcome of this session and help us formulate actionable strategies as legislators for economic recovery and growth.
We are confident at the Central Bank of Nigeria that those challenging times, we've gone through the worst of them, and we are, as a country, emerging stronger. We are quite certain, Mr. Chair, that the tough decisions that have been taken over the last 10 to 12 months are addressing some of these challenges that have been there with us for decades.
A number of interventions have been approved by Mr. President. The very well-known ones were the energy transition in order to deepen CNG penetration. The negotiations with the Nigerian Labour Congress has been ongoing to ensure that there is no further disruption in the economy, and one has to thank again the leadership of the National Assembly.
The nation's oil and gas sector, which is a major source of revenue for the government, came under focus.
We're very optimistic that by December this country will be net exporter. That means combination of production coming from us and also from the Dangote Refinery and other smaller producing companies that we know are in line to do this. Latest by early August, the Port Harcourt Refinery old will start producing product, and of course the new one will get to December, and Wari will also be in production. You know, I'm very optimistic. I don't have any confirmation this moment, so that nobody cuts me and say, "Oh, say this." We keep lying, so we're not lying to you, Mr. President. It's a technical process. With your best of intention, you can put dates on refinery startup, but it is when you get to startup that you see the real challenges, even for a new refinery.
We have a clear plan to see how we can get, 2 million barrels and more. And I believe that we need the support of all members of the National Assembly. We need the support of all Nigerians, to be able to achieve that one.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Committee on Solid Minerals held a public hearing to investigate illegal mining activities. The security agencies present outlined their actions to address illegal mining so far and the need for the support of state governors.
From December to date, we've arrested 387 individuals in connection with illegal mining. We also have vehicles and also some of these these minerals that were arrested, which were handed over as exhibits to those agencies for them to be prosecuted.
The government needs to, like I said, show that willpower that they actually want to tackle this thing by ensuring that anybody, no matter how highly placed, that is involved in illegal mining faces the books accordingly.
In another committee room, the Public Procurement Committee held a public hearing on the bill to amend the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply Management Act 2007. The chairman of the committee seized the moment to issue a warning to heads of MDAs.
I wish to sound a note of warning to all government procuring entities who are in the habit of dishonoring parliamentary invitations to kindly desist from such deviant behavior. Failure to do so, the committee will not hesitate to invoke its legislative powers in accordance with Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Welcome back. You're watching The Gavel. On the breakdown this week, the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, speaks on the Special Seats Bill, which has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives.
a bill to create special seats for women in the national and state houses of assembly passed second reading in the House of Representatives. This bill is sponsored by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, and it also has 12 other co-sponsors. The bill proposes amendment to certain sections of the Constitution, and it proposes the creation of 1 additional seat in the Senate that will be contested by only women. It also proposes an additional seat in each of the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT that will be contested by women, and this totals 74 seats. At the state level, that's for the state houses of assembly, it's proposing that 3 special seats for women be created in each of the 36 states, totaling 108. This will be the second time that this bill is coming before the National Assembly. The bill was initially introduced in the 9th National Assembly by Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha, who was the then Deputy Chief Whip, but it failed to pass. It was vetoed during voting on constitutional alteration bills in March 2022. Now this bill is being reintroduced. And the purpose of the bill really is to remedy the low representation of women in the national and state houses of assembly, which stands at 4%, at least in the National Assembly stands at 4%. There are only 16 women in the House of Reps, and there are only 4 senators that are women in the Senate. And these figures are really abysmal. Nigeria is recorded for having one of the lowest numbers of women in parliament in sub-Saharan Africa, and is actually at the bottom 10 globally. So the whole idea of this bill is to create a temporary special measure that will enable more women get elected into parliament. And this is actually not novel. This is a practice that is used in so many other countries and other jurisdictions. It's quite popular in Africa. It's used in countries like Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya. And this particular type of affirmative action is used specifically in countries that run first past the post system, like Nigeria. So the challenge is that countries that run electoral systems, the first past the post electoral systems, is quite difficult for women to get elected into parliament. But countries that operate the proportional representation system tend to find it easier to get more women into their parliaments. The bill is being proposed as a temporary special measure in the Constitution. It's not meant to be in existence, forever. There's a proposal that there's something called a sunset clause in the proposal, which means that after a number of years, it's going to be reviewed. I think for many people, the question is going to be, why is this needed? Whether women actually face special barriers. Yes, women face very, very unique barriers when it comes to contesting for office. The electoral process or electoral environment is highly competitive, and a lot of women lack access to resources, especially financial resources, to run for elections. Men have more access to gain the credentials, the financial resources, the personal income and wealth that is needed to actually run for elections. Then there's also the issue of stereotypes. There's culture and religion, and there's this expectation, that women should take on certain roles and shouldn't take on certain roles. And because of that, you see that lots of women are averse, to contesting and running for politics. And there's also the issue of violence, which is very prevalent in our electoral system. So these are some of the very unique challenges that women face. So the whole idea of this bill and, other temporary special measures or affirmative action proposals is to kind of, boost the numbers of women in parliament, make it easier, or like help them garner the electoral experience that they need to compete. So that in subsequent electoral cycles, they must have built up structures, resources, networks that can help them compete and run successfully with men. Like I mentioned, this bill failed in the 9th Assembly and it's being reintroduced in the 10th Assembly. It just passed second reading and it has been referred to the Committee on Constitution Review. And some of the reasons why it failed, is because of, poor knowledge and awareness of the contents of the bill, of the problem it's seeking to address. Some people feel it's anti-democratic, and, some of those arguments came up during the second reading. One of the legislators said, it was discriminatory to men. Well, this is meant to be a temporary special measure. And I think there also needs to be lobbying. The last time, a lot of male legislators said that there was inadequate lobbying by civil society organizations and women organizations on the bill. So there needs to be a lot of effort put into it.
Well, to wrap, here's Constituency Focus with Honorable James Barker representing Hong Gombe Federal Constituency of Adamawa State.
The needs of my people are enormous. There are so much challenges which need to be fixed in my constituency. Just like most places, of course, in Adamawa State. One, as it is now, I will say my people are really in need of, one, job creation. Because without jobs, survival is very difficult. They rear cows, they rear sheep, they rear goats, and all that. And my first point of contact was to see those people that I can enhance their level of engagement into rearing goats, which fortunately for me, I met on ground. And those goats were evenly distributed to the families that will be beneficial to them. Secondly, we know we have insecurity in our place. The places need to be lighted, especially in the night. And barely when I was 2 months in office, I was able to procure some, solar lights to light up some of the villages and towns. Although there were a few, just 100 in number, but it was just for a start to see whether we could do more, just within 2 months. And of course, not quite 3 weeks back, I distributed some palliatives, food items, because as at now, people need to eat. People need to get out of, to prevent sickness of malnutrition, need to eat because there is hardship. Everybody knows. To provide 3 square meals for families today, especially in the rural areas, is difficult. That is why we have to resort to palliative, which was a support from the federal government, especially the Northeast Development Commission. Not a single bag was left behind. It was distributed. You can see the pictures of my flagging off of the distribution. And I'm happy to get a very positive result. Those that's responsible are actually done what I wanted. Although there are complaints here and there, but then I'm satisfied that 80% of my expectations was made. So as I said, right now, my people have challenges of water, drinking water. Our primary schools are dilapidated. Most of the children, thank God to our governor, he now pays for the NECO and the WAEC fees. So that has made school enrollment. And so our main target now is to make sure that we fix the schools. We bring good water to them. And during the farming season, let us provide fertilizer for them. I have said it, by the grace of God, by next year we are going to procure fertilizer. I will use my office here to make sure that fertilizer gets to my people. And so I'm working seriously toward that.
It's my responsibility to keep you updated on the weekly activities of federal lawmakers, so consider yourself updated. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.